The 18th of Av this year marks the 10th Yahrzeit of Rabbi Boruch Abaranok, Zichrono Livracha. On that day, I will not be in Melbourne, the city where Rabbi Abaranok lived most of his life and made such a remarkable contribution. Instead, I'll be in Israel, in Jerusalem, Rabbi Abaranok's final resting place. How even in the darkest of times he saw hope. Even in the most difficult circumstances, he remained cheerful. Even in the most trying situations, he was patient. Even after destruction, he saw the need to rebuild. He was just 3 years old when his father was killed during the First World War. And as the Second World War approached, he and his Rebbitzin looked for ways to leave Poland. They tried to obtain a permit to go to Eretz Israel, but they were unsuccessful. He later moved the family to Melbourne, predominantly so his daughters could receive a fuller Jewish education. And it was only later that he began giving a shiur at Mizrachi and Divrei Torah at Suda Shlishit, and in 1961 he was appointed the Rav of Mizrachi. That position he held with distinction for 25 years. He began giving shiurim to a whole range of Talmidim, and those Talmidim became his extended family. And he never lost that cheerful disposition, seeing the positive side of everything. So on this 10th Yahrzeit, we reflect on the remarkable contribution that Rabbi Abaranok, Zichrono Livracha, made in so many areas. And we reflect also on the wonderful person that he was and the lessons that we can learn from the way he lived his life. That even in the most difficult times, we can be optimistic. We're taught that in the future, the month of Av will not be the saddest month of the year, but the happiest, marking the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. Rabbi Abaranok's life taught us the lesson of hope, of overcoming obstacles, the lesson of optimism. And even now, that lesson is reflected in the very date of his Yahrzeit, Chai Av.
Because I married in Baranovich. With years before I studied in Baranovich, by Rabbi Wasserman. I learned in Mira Yeshiva, a famous very yeshiva, and then I learned in Chofetz Chaim's yeshiva. The Chofetz Chaim was alive. Maybe I'm going to tell you, Pastor, something you might wondering. I'm wondering, after I went through all what I went through, and I stayed alive, I'm wondering, operations, as a doctor, you know, my heart attack, and everything, and I survived. How? And you know how many good things I have in me, only because the blessing from Chofetz Chaim, he held me in his hand and he blessed me. I believe so.
So you were amongst the last students of the Chofetz Chaim?
Of course, from the last bench, because actually for my time, the Chofetz Chaim didn't say any shiurim in yeshiva. We went to his place in his home, which is only 1 minute, half a minute from yeshiva to the yeshiva, and shmues, we call this, sichot. And it was very interesting, very interesting. And they say about the Chofetz Chaim, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik say, his sitkes is covering his goyness. Chofetz Chaim is a goyn too, but his sitkes is covering his goyness. That was in the 30s year when I was in Radin, and before he opened the Yeshivat Chachmei Lublin, he made a tour over the yeshivot from Poland to see how they're working. And I was in Radin, there by Chofetz Chaim. We had a Shabbos with him. Also Rabbi Zalman Meltzer, I don't think it was in the same time, but Rabbi Zalman Meltzer, coincidentally, he's also a Mir, born in Mir, and he was Rosh Yeshiva in Yerushalayim, in Eitz Chaim. For something, I don't know the reason, he visited then Poland, and he came in Radin, and he say in Radin, while I was learning there, he say a shir in, we learned in the Mizrachi Melbourne, I think. I still have somewhere the shir, which I have written with my handwriting. what is said. Mir yeshiva was Rabbi Boruch Abaranok. He was a great man, a great psychologist, has big eyes. When he passed through in yeshiva, walking around, you can see that your eyes, he penetrating deep in your side, he knows what he's doing. And he has a famous, philosophical person. So many, when he used to give, we used to call this Hashmoes. They were running, the Bocharim, the younger life. It was a danger. The standards were falling down. Sometimes he told them off it. Sakonis nefoshes. But so much, he was so popular that each yeshiva bocher want to catch a good place, a good standing near to hear him.
How long did the boat trip take from Europe to New Zealand?
I went from Gdansk, then in England. I was a few days in England in the Jewish shelter. And from England, we left with this Riviera to Auckland. Of course, I kept Shabbos. Those time, people was very hard to keep Shabbos because all the main business. People were making a bet about me. Somebody give me 3 weeks, 3 months that I'll keep Shabbos, some 6. Some are even more generous. They give me 12 months. Then, once upon a time, a lady customer of mine came to me. They called me the rebel. I was a young man. I was in the late 20s, near to 28, 29, or even 30, I don't know exactly. And they called me the rebel. The customer came to me, he say, Rebel, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a private question. I say, you can ask me whatever you like. Are you traveling on Shabbos? I said, no. Cholila v'chas, if it would be sakonet nefoshet, danger, or a suffix sakonis nefoshet, I would. But then goodness, so far I didn't have. But the day I say, a lady friend saw me riding in the tram on Shabbos. I say, perhaps, maybe, it was Friday, late in afternoon, when I went from my shop home, but still I make sure always it was before Shabbos. But the day I ask her, which number of tram? I don't remember exactly. She told me a certain number. I say, I never ride on this tram. It's impossible. And 3 weeks later, the same lady came to me with apology. She went with her sister-in-law in tram, and she pointed out on an non-Jewish man. This is the rebel. I was a teacher. They took me, they snatched me, the Mizrachi, from Haskolet Talmud Torah in Mizrachi. Then they have to pay me, how do you call this, for the holidays. Mr. Blacher, all of Shalom, I think was, they were annoyed of me, but that's why I left Haskolet. They didn't want to pay me. And anyhow, I used to give them shurim. Mr. Phelan came to me when to give a shir, a Gemara in Talmud during the week. Later on had a tragedy. They had a rabbi first, he was killed by a car, like Rabbi Phelan. He used to say, Divrei Torah v'Shalom Shudas. I was living then already in Elwood. Then they asked me, invite me to come from Elwood to Shalom Shudas say Divrei Torah. I had twice to walk. It was very hard. Finally, before he left, they were thinking they didn't have a real appointed rabbi. And the Rabbi Rosengarten say, you have a diamond around you, why are you looking? Then they appointed me not as a rabbi, as a dayan. What was their intention? Because I'm not an Englishman. They'll have somebody else. Anyhow, but the same Mr. Phelan, Oliver Sholem, it was an old Mr. Yellen, Shmuel's father, and he was a big chassid of mine. He said, why, this rabbi is called rabbi, and this one is rabbi, and the other rabbi is only a dayan. A dayan is It's a higher title, anyhow. Then they say, Yudelfenger of something, look, don't make a fuss, we'll call him Rabbi. And since then I was settled.